Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another open question. Now today is a little bit different, as you've seen with my other video dropping today about The Walking Dead. This is also a Walking Dead video, and I just wanted to kind of tell everyone that I'm actually looking to do different content as of now, like in terms of I'll still be doing my regular uploads for Dragon Ball and all that stuff. Still a lot of Dragon Ball discussions here to come. I have no shortage of ideas in that sense, but I do want to cover other things that I'm very much passionate about. And Walking Dead is not only really big right now, but I mean, man, it's the talk of the town after this last Sunday, and everyone's just complete, everyone's either up in arms about what's going on, or they're saying, oh yeah, like the show's come back to quality, or this show is shit, and whatever. And personally, I want to make this open question about whether or not they made the right choice going into season 7, or even looking back on how they actually ended season 6 and everything going forward. So this is your very last warning. There will be spoilers for season 7 and maybe even future possibility things going forward with the show or something, because the comic books are definitely ahead of the show at this point and everything. And if she didn't know that, I'm very sorry for my guest that I might be spoiling stuff if she is not trying to spoil herself. But anyway, please welcome back Amber. Amber, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
Anyway, yeah, she said, not to give you away, but I called her up and I was like, hey, do you want to do this? And she's like, yeah, but I don't watch the show after Sunday. So, I mean, that's actually a good segue. Amber, what did you think? I mean, just general open question to everyone. Listen, right now, go into the comment section. Tell us, what do you think about the choices they made? Do you think it was the right choice? Would you have done something different? And after I'm done talking, feel free to get into spoiler territory just to give your concise answer, Amber.
My first emotion, I'm pissed. I'm beyond pissed. Not only am I pissed about the choices, well, only one choice. The other choice I didn't really care for. I've never really liked that person, so I don't even care.
Feel free to use names.
Okay. Abraham, I'm sorry, but I don't give a shit. It's terrible the way he died. I give him that, but, the hell with you, guy. Get the fuck out, but I know that sounds terrible, but again, his puns were kind of funny, his jokes were kind of funny, but at the same time, if it had to be somebody, at least it was him. The other person, which I'm sure you guys all know is probably by now, is Glenn. I'm livid. I mean, I know he dies in the comics, but
at that exact scene.
Huh?
At that exact scene.
Yeah. And it's like, I knew it was coming, but seeing it in person, like seeing it on TV and not reading it, was so totally different. It was such a shocker to me. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. A couple days ago, what's today? Tuesday. So yesterday, I say a couple days ago, technically it was, Monday, there was actually a big article on, apparently the episode has gotten a lot of flack now because it has now been known as the most violent episode of a TV series that has ever been on TV, apparently. I don't know if that's right? True.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because of the way they've done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's so violent that now they've had parents writing to the show and writing to AMC basically saying, how dare you, this was so violent, it's disgusting. Which I kind of agree in some sense, like it was pretty, I mean, Walking Dead is gory on its own, but Sunday's episode, I honestly think they took it a little too far, and that's coming from me, because I love movies like Resident Evil, and like, I love all the movies where people get hacked to death and whatever else, but this might be a little spoil. Should I say it? I don't know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is spoiler territory, guys. If you've listened this far, you know.
Yeah.
You're spoiled already.
Okay, so specifically the part where his freaking eyeball comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, like that is so disgusting to me. That part, I thought they took it a little too far. I could have done with them just bashing his head in and seeing his guts go flying. That's still too much too, but the whole eyeball thing, that even made me puke. Like, that's how disgusting I thought it was. So I kind of agree with what they're saying, where I think they did take it a little too far. Like, I don't think it was necessary to show that scene. Like, I think they should have kind of, where they do the shots where you can see it, but it's like far away and the person is standing in front of the camera. I think the shot would have been better that way.
Yeah, in terms of the gore, which is definitely worth mentioning at this point, I feel like the gore, it just doesn't faze me. I guess it doesn't really faze me. I guess most people who've watched my channel are really loyal to the channel or know what the content I put out there or stuff I share on Twitter. I really like the Saw franchise. I'm really into horror movies and everything. It just didn't faze me. I don't see the issue. I don't see the problem or the annoyance or the fear in people's eyes. I mean, the show is for a mature audience, and if you can't handle it, I mean, obviously kids shouldn't be watching, but if you can't handle it yourself, then don't watch it. I mean, I feel like it is for an audience who expects the certain of level that we got in last night's episode, which, if you're watching this, it's on Tuesday or no, it's Monday. I can't even know what day it is. Anyway, like, yeah, like, the thing is I feel like you shouldn't be mad about that. This is 7 seasons into this show. You're telling me that this is the scene that broke it for you. I personally, I feel like there's been a lot of stuff that should have probably turned those people off to begin with. I think one of the things that brings about a lot of this controversy is just like how big this episode was. It actually has the second largest live view count for the entire series thus far, with like 17.03 million people, which for a cable show is unheard of, just huge in terms of like, the only thing that comes close or even beats it to some degree is Game of Thrones. And the thing is I think just because of that, just because of the recognition that it got, people have kind of probably seen this who don't necessarily watch the show and are up in arms for that. I don't think the real fans who have been watching it ever since 2010 are terribly, terribly disgusted or out of it, even though, yes, it was a little bit more graphic than we're used to seeing from this show. But, no, please.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like, too, a lot of the complaints probably come from, people who have only just started watching it like the last 2 seasons or something, or, the people that have only seen a few episodes and they're like, well, this is beyond gory. And it's like, well, if you've watched it from season 1, like, it's not really, I mean, it's far-fetched, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not really that bad compared to other stuff we've seen. Mm-hmm. And also going into, like, the whole complaining thing, right? People are saying, oh, my child's terrified now and this and that. It's like, lady, there's a warning at the beginning of every episode that says, this may not be suitable for younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. They say it every single time. So if you're letting your 12-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever, watch this show where people get their brains bashed in, then I'm sorry, then you have something wrong with you.
Well, that's just we'll leave that at that. I feel like there are certain people who disregard all that stuff, that their children are either strong-willed or they want their children to see something or they think it's okay, and those people are just their own special type of people. But, going back into, the actual content of the show, I do believe that conversation is important to bring up, and I do want to hear everyone's opinions on that. Was this the straw that broke the camel's back? Was this too gory for you? Was this not gory enough? Did this affect you at all? And how will this affect your viewership going forward? Are you offended by what you saw? And going into the actual content as it is, I'm pretty sure today, and I'll leave everyone up to finding this for themselves in terms of the actual content, because I don't promote leaking or watching stuff that was just not necessarily supposed to be online, but they leaked footage of deleted scenes that were shot from, I guess, the original killing from the 6th season, or maybe even the beginning of shooting season 7. And it was a shot, just to describe what was going on, it was Maggie actually being batted to death instead of Abraham. And a thing. And it kind of, this is what kind of sparks this open question going back to what you were saying at the very beginning of the video is, with Abraham getting killed, and I say this in the other video I did that's going up today, I feel like that was a foregone conclusion. It wasn't necessarily shocking at all, because if one thing The Walking Dead does pretty religiously is, if they're going to kill off anybody, be it kind of a side character, a new kind of reoccurring character, or even a main character, if that character starts to get even a little bit of semblance of happiness in their life, then they're automatically put on the chopping block as soon as anything else. It's just a certain trope of the show. And with Abraham's whole development from last season, starting at the rock bottom and then kind of working his way up, it really couldn't have been anyone else. And personally, artistically, I feel like they dicked us around. Personally, as a fan, I feel like they dicked us around by letting us wait and giving us this 2-for-1 sale at the beginning of this season, when what they could have done is, considering that they were planning this, another story that came out today, that they were planning this for 2 years, this particular episode for 2 years, and they wanted this shock and awe treatment. What they could have done is ended this last season with Abraham dying and then coming back immediately with Glenn's death. Now, the one thing that I don't like about that personally is the fact that they have been kind of dicking around with Glenn's death for the last 2 seasons now. With season 5, he gets basically tackled by 2 zombies with only one working arm and magically appears unscathed, and then basically being dogpiled by zombies near the dumpster in season 6 and magically appears unscathed. It's like he had kind of a protective shield around him in terms of character, and they just kind of were shepherding him to this particular scene where they knew they were going to kill him for the last 2 years. And it feels lazy to me. And when I bring up the whole Maggie thing, I just personally feel that, yes, that's tragic, and yes, that would completely take away her character arc. How she becomes, like, in the comic book, she becomes this badass leader, and just because Glenn's death allows her character to grow so much and expand so much, semblances of which that we saw at the very end of the season, or the very end of the last episode, where she has this brand new resolve in her, and she's the only one left after that kind of brutal takedown of both those people and Rick getting crawled off, that like she's the only one left. Is like, we have to go to war. Even Rick is just completely out of it at this point. And you can see how much is going to be built up for her, but just thinking about killing her character, thinking about how risky when it first came on The Walking Dead was, in terms of like, you never saw shows that so willingly killed off characters, even back then, because, around the second season, Game of Thrones wasn't really much of a thing, or wasn't as popular as it is today. They hadn't taken as much risk as they usually did. So Walking Dead had that kind of caveat to it at the beginning of the series, where they were just going to kill off all these important characters and nobody was safe and everything. And now, 7 seasons into this show, it just kind of feels par for course, and there's no more surprises left. And there are certain people that we know aren't going to die. You can probably name them on a hand. Rick's not going to die, Carl's not going to die, Carol's not going to die, Glenn's not going to die, and Michonne's not going to die. And Maggie, at this point, because she's pregnant and because she has a little bit more story to tell, that's what I'm expecting. And while I did like this episode, while I did find that I liked the direction that they went, I'm glad that they took the direction they did, and for the characters and for everything going forward, and to establish Negan as an amazing villain. Personally, I feel like they should have taken a bigger risk. And I'm sorry, that was a huge rant, but Amber, what do you think about that? Do you think that they should have killed someone else off, and who would it have been?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Kind of going back to when you said about them dicking around with Abraham, it was a big shocker to us, because for the longest time we only thought one person was going to die, and then, we watched the episode and holy shit, they take out 2 people. It's like, what the hell? Where did that come from? And I was actually reading an article yesterday that Robert had said he didn't like the way Abraham was killed in the comics. He said, it's bullshit, I don't want him to go out that way, so screw it, I'm going to take him out a different way. And then, of course, that's what happened in the episode. You guys brain bashed it. I haven't read the comics, so I don't know how he dies in the comics, but I assume it's a drastic change from how he actually died. So
he basically died in the same way, what's her name, like that other cannon fodder, medic vet character did last season, where she got an arrow through the eye, like randomly. That's basically how Abraham dies in the comics. It's random. It's like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I mean, I understand. It's, it was a shocking moment. It was one of the cool things about last season, but at the same time, if that had been a major character, it would have been jaw-dropping, but also a little bit,
Now, as far as, like, who else I would have chose, definitely not Glenn. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I have a lot of resentment towards that. Glenn was the only character left that I actually liked besides Maggie.
You can't
so now
kill
I feel like, and Daryl, of course, but, like, now it's just Daryl and Maggie. That's it. I don't like anybody else. So, I mean...
You don't like Carol?
No, there's something about
Carol.
her. Ever since last season, to me, she is just like the bitch from hell. Like, I don't know if it's her haircut, her personality. Just every time I look at her, I'm like, oh, I wish this bitch would die. Like, take her out of the story already.
I love her. She's had the best character development. She's unrecognizable from the person she was at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that. It's just, I don't know. There's something about her, I just can't pinpoint what it is. But if I had to choose somebody else, obviously I'm going to keep Abraham because, like I said, I don't really care for him. I didn't care that he died. It wasn't a big shocker to me. The other person, now this may seem kind of weird because he's a main character, but he's not, is Aaron. I don't know if you guys remember him. He's a gay guy. His boyfriend died like a couple seasons back. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't have minded if Aaron was the other victim. Just saying.
I personally, the only people one of the things I would have done just to be different and shake it up, I personally feel like you can't kill Maggie. I would have been very sad if they had killed that they did kill Glenn, but if they killed Daryl, that would have been ballsy. They could have killed Carl. I know Carl has a lot more story to tell, especially from the comics, but in terms it's just they needed to do something. They need to do something to get them off the course. The other video I did, and I'll link it in the description below so everyone can go watch that if y'all are still interested in this long ass open question after this. But personally, I feel like one of the things that we talked about in that was, when is the series going to end? And personally, they're already greenlit for season 8. They need to start diverting from the comics and kind of building up a narrative that they can end on and not just keep this show going forever. Because while it has momentum still, while it has popularity, I feel like, and what this video is about is, even though what they seem to be doing is working in terms of building momentum, building buzz, and building an audience, it can only work for so long. And we keep seeing the same tropes over and over and over again. And when it gets to a point where a main character from the very beginning of the show dies, and it's not surprising, it's not as surprising as it should be. I feel like that's when this show starts having problems.
And it's funny you say that too, because actually, Robert was doing an interview the one day, and somebody asked him, how long do you want this to go on for? And he's like, honestly, I want to do like 12 seasons. I'm like, okay, like, do you got enough ideas for that shit? Because that's pretty long from now, we're only on season 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could do it. I think they can do it if the popularity sticks. It's just a very, very expensive show to make. And, if ratings fall, which they were last season, if they continue to fall, we'll see it wrapping up before that. But I feel like, personally, if I was just to throw a ballpark number, I bet they'd get to 10. I feel like they would make themselves get to 10 because it's a huge milestone.
Well, yeah, and it's weird too because like one of my favorite shows, it's been gone off the air for a couple years now, was CSI, and it went for 15 seasons. I couldn't believe it went for that long.
Well, it wasn't like, that's completely off topic, but wasn't it like basically virtually unrecognizable at the end? Like, they weren't even the same characters anymore from that show.
Well, yeah, pretty much, because like a few of them left like throughout the seasons, like 2 people left and then 1 person left, and then by the end of it there was only like I think 3 or 4 of the original characters were the only ones left on the show. Mm-hmm. And everyone else had either died or left the show to like do other things or whatever. So
yeah, and I think that's something that's just interesting, I guess. But anyway, it's interesting how they can keep momentum. It's something that's kind of what The Walking Dead does. I mean, there's only 3 people left from the beginning of the entire show, so
pretty much.
And the characters they've introduced are still interesting, and people I would be very sad to see die. I guess Morgan's there, so 4. But anyway, guys, if you listen this far, thank you so much. If you haven't, I hope that you've kind of left your comments in the comment section below about who you'd rather them have killed. Did this last episode, gore or anything, affect you negatively? Did you feel like it kind of went too far? It shouldn't have been something like that? Or do you feel like it was okay and you don't really mind one way or the other because it's just basically what the content is at this point? Do you think this show is going downhill? Do you think it's basically too predictable at this point? Should it end anytime soon, or was all this really surprising and you think that this show is still on the top of the world and Negan's just going to come in and save, be the villain that we all want him to be? But anyway, guys, thank you for listening so far all this way, and Amber, thank you for joining me. Actually, it was actually a really good discussion about this. I covered way more than I actually wanted to, but I feel like that's actually kind of cool. I want to do more of this stuff going forward, and I'm glad I have people that I talk to even right now who also like this stuff enough to carry on a nice conversation.
Yeah, I think we made some good points. So
yeah, definitely. Anyway, guys, we're going to catch you on the next video.
Bye.
Bye.